Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Victor Weekly Wealth, Wellness, and Word. Today is Wednesday, and today we'll be dealing with wellness and just overall health. And with that, I'm going to talk about Cape Town. I'm going to talk about my second trip to Cape Town. I talked about my first trip to Cape Town 2 years ago in August 2024. I was about to say 2022, but then I realized that it was in 2024. So we're going to talk about my trip to Cape Town, the highs and the lows that happened during my trip to Cape Town, and a possible move to Cape Town, and my investment plans for Cape Town. So if we travel back to August of 2022, my fiance at the time, who was taking care of my visa to go to Canada, bought me a plane ticket and sent me money for upkeep to go to Cape Town. I needed to get my biomeds done in Cape Town because for Canada it wasn't possible to get your biomeds done in Zambia, and so my choices were Zimbabwe, Tanzania, and South Africa. Um, I had met with a visa company earlier in that year that were going to send my passport to Zimbabwe, and they were charging $500 for the entire experience, which I would have paid for myself. But my fiance at the time didn't want me to pay $500. She thought it was a waste of money. But I thought it would be easier having a company do it on our behalf than doing it ourselves, because what I have come to learn when it comes to immigration is that you don't really know what's going on until you actually know what's going on. Until you experience it, immigration is one of the hardest things to do. So I opted to listen to her instead of getting a visa to instead of using the company and spending $500 on a visa. We went with her idea, and we opted to do it from Cape Town. Funny enough, before I went to before I flew to Cape Town, my auntie, who is in the United States at the moment, was wondering why I didn't do it from Tanzania. I honestly was not. I honestly was nonchalant about it because I wasn't really enthused going to either Cape Town, Zimbabwe, or Tanzania. I figured you've been to one place in Africa, you've been to all the places in Africa. And so, because of that, we agreed, my fiance and I at the time, agreed to go to Cape Town. I would go to Cape Town while she was in Canada. She gave me money for upkeep, she paid for my ticket. She made a massive sacrifice to make sure that I have a way to go to Canada and visit her family. Now, this was my first proper trip outside of Zambia and the first time I was getting on a plane. I had never really traveled before. Well, I've been to border towns in Namibia in 2013 and along Pedicle Road, connecting the Copperbelt to Luapula province through the Democratic Republic of Congo, or as I call it, Dr. Congo. But this was something different because it didn't really have a Zambian feel. I remember in Namibia, the street kids were also asking for kwacha. They asked for Namibian, they asked for Namibian dollar, they asked for rand, and they also asked for kwacha. So it still felt Zambian. And with Congo, the only thing that felt different was that we were driving on the different side of the road, and the signs were in French, but it didn't really feel like I was out of the country. And so I flew, and I really, 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 really hate takeoff. But I captured my first takeoff on video, and I had never prayed that much in my life. In that one moment from when the plane was ascending to when it was stabilized in the air, that was, I spent the entire time praying. But I already explained this in a previous video. So on Monday was my arrival. I arrived late in the night. What wasn't really late in the night, it was like around 20, if my memory serves me correctly. On Tuesday, I went on an Apartheid tour. Wednesday, I went to the VFS visa for my appointment to go to Canada. And then after that, I went to Two Oceans Aquarium. On Thursday, I went to Hermanus and wine tasting. On Friday, there was karaoke at Long Street Backpackers. I love karaoke. On Saturday, I went to World of Birds, and on Sunday, I went on the boat cruise at the waterfront, and then I flew back on Monday. Now, the thing about Cape Town is that it always felt like home. And when I got back to Zambia, I couldn't stop talking about it. I wanted to go back. And now, if somebody says, Victor, where would you like to go? My first answer will always be Cape Town. I'd like to tour everywhere, but Cape Town is a place I'd actually like to stay permanently. Now we fast forward to October of 2025. We fast forward to October of 2025 because, in fact, we fast forward to September 24th of 2025, where I had put my car up as collateral. I had put my car up as collateral because I needed to finance loans. On October 24th, in fact, between then, I think like a week before, my fiancée, who had turned into my wife, I had cried out to her to help me out with the loans because they were getting too much. And she sent me a decent amount of money, but it could not suffice for the loans. We fast forward to the end of the month, we have a massive fight. And because I was attacked on all cylinders, from the loans, from her, from everything, I needed a break from life. And essentially, my wife and I went on a break. After that, or rather, as that was going on, I was then fighting loan sharks, going to the police station. I was laughed out of the building by the police officers who could not arrest the loan people. I sent an email to the Bank of Zambia. I had gone to the Ministry of Finance. I had gone to the Consumer Protection Agency. I was doing a lot just to save face. Fast forward to the tail end of November, because I had deactivated my SIM card and deleted all my contacts and deleted my WhatsApp. I only had WhatsApp on my computer. My wife said it's best we just separate. And from there, I was now dealing with loans and a broken heart. And there was a ray of sunshine at the start of the year. I got a new job that allows me to be paid in dollars. The exchange rate between the dollar and the kwacha ranges from 20 to 18, or from 18 to 20. So whatever amount I get is manifested by 18 kwacha. And my mother's land, which was sold, money started raining in from that. And from there, I was looking at this year as a year of God's favor, and the trip to Cape Town was a symbol of the old life in which my wife had left me, in which I had debt, in which I nearly killed myself. I then put that into going to Cape Town, where I felt relief, where I could pause the world and just be a tourist. And then I have my life before Cape Town and my life outside of after Cape Town, and I'm much better. I'm much better. I'm in a much better place mentally, to the point that I do not know what it would take for reconciliation with my wife, because I feel, and I've heard what she tells people. She tells people that I had asked to take a break before the loans were even a factor, but I find that funny because she had sent me money to help deal with those loans, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm going to talk about what happened in Cape Town this second time around, the challenges that I faced, and how my perspective in life has changed. So, after I landed in Cape Town on Wednesday, the first place that I went to was the 27th. The first place that I went to was Table Mountain. It was the only place that I couldn't visit last time. Everybody asked me if I went to Table Mountain. The answer was no, I couldn't go to Table Mountain because it's closed in the winter. Another thing that is missing from my Cape Town resume is actually going whale watching, which I plan to do in the near future. And so I went up Table Mountain, but then I realized that I had a bag. When I settled down, I realized that I had a bag missing, and that bag had 3,000 rand, which is a lot. Because I had budgeted for $500, which translated into 7,000 rand, and that 7,000 rand, 3,000 of it was already disappeared, and there were some expenses that I had already made by going to Table Mountain, and so now I found myself in a place where I didn't have money, and so I had to wire a 2,000 kwacha through Airtel Money. Fortunately, I had enough money to cover the next day and visit Two Oceans Aquarium. I will always go to the aquarium. That's my favorite place in Cape Town. I love looking at the underwater creatures. We don't have sea creatures in Zambia, and so it's something that always makes me feel good. That evening, I made friends with a Swiss gentleman named Patrick, a German girl named Tatiana. In fact, I met a lot of Germans. My roommate at the hostel that I was staying at, his name was Arne, like Arne Slot, the Liverpool coach. His name was Arne, and he was German, and he was quite the good conversationalist. I also had a roommate who was Australian, and I think that's always the my favorite thing about going to Cape Town is just mixing and matching with the different cultures that are there. I don't remember everyone's name, but I remember the people that made an impact. Friday, this is Friday now. We've On Wednesday I had gone to Table Mountain. On Thursday I had gone to Two Oceans Aquarium. On Friday I had my Airtel money which wasn't working, and I needed to extend my stay. But I managed a 1 day extension through a Vodacom SIM card that I bought, and now I have a South African number. So whenever I go to South Africa, I will just be topping up the airtime so that I can continue to communicate rather than relying on Wi-Fi in places that I will live in. So that is a plus. It's a plus. It's a plus because if this tragedy of the 3,000 rand didn't happen, then I wouldn't have thought to get myself a South African SIM card. And now that I have a South African SIM card, when I just land, I can actually buy airtime. This was actually a bone of contention that my wife, who was my fiance at the time, had with me, was that I could not communicate unless I was in the hostel where I had Wi-Fi, and she got upset because she thought that I was intentionally blocking her out, or I was intentionally not communicating with her, which didn't make sense because when she came to Zambia, she was experiencing issues where she needed Wi-Fi to communicate or she wouldn't be able to communicate. So I always found that weird. I don't really like inconsistencies with people, and whenever I see something that's inconsistent, it just bothers me because it's like I thought that you would know this, but then you are acting as if you wouldn't know this. Anyway, so on Friday we had karaoke. I was invited to a gay bar, but I am wild, but I'm not that wild. And I managed to have my cousin send me money through Western Union, though it almost didn't work out because my name, my birth name is Victor Mwape Mlenga, but on my ID it's just Victor Mlenga, and so my cousin had put my middle name in the Western Union transfer form, and so it became a bone of contention because the transfer name and the ID need too much. So my lessons from going to Cape Town. The first one was independence. Now, like I mentioned earlier, my wife funded my first trip, and so this time I had to handle everything. When I was booking a ticket to go to Cape Town, I tried booking it using Airtel money, but then I could not pay for the ticket. So then I put my money in my EcoBank account, and I still couldn't pay for the ticket. Then I had to find a travel agent to sort out my booking needs, and then I had to pay her cash. And so already booking a ticket was a hassle. And so I'd never booked a plane ticket for myself. And so it was an interesting experience knowing where to go and what amounts of money constitute when paying for a flight. Um, I understand. I understood the second thing I learned from this Cape Town trip was that in as much as planning is important, flexibility is necessary. Nothing went according to plan. Nothing went according to plan. I lost money, there were failed payments, and there were booking complications, but I stayed calm. I improvised, I adapted, I enjoyed myself in Cape Town. I also learned that community matters. Meeting people like Patrick, Tatiana, Rafaela, Ella, um, so many people. They made me forget about the pain that I had gone through with my wife's actions. They made me forget that for a second I forgot that I was a man on the brink of insanity. And they do not know this, but I thank them every day. I thank God that I got to meet people to make me forget that my life just a few weeks ago was flipped and turned upside down. Growth comes from challenges. Every problem, from lost cash to SIM card troubles, became an opportunity for strength, patience, resilience, and problem solving. I learned that joy can exist with chaos. Even amid financial setbacks, I still experienced laughter, music, and new adventures. Life doesn't have to be perfect to be meaningful. And lastly, um, Cape Town for me wasn't just a destination. For me, it became a mirror, highlighting my independence, exposing my fears, and celebrating my capacity to handle life's unexpected twists and turns. And I will be meeting with a gentleman from Cape Town tomorrow. Um, at best case scenario, I'd love it to manifest into me moving to Cape Town permanently. But even outside of that, I would like to actually own two houses in the Western Cape or in Cape Town region, either in Paarl, in Stellenbosch, or in Constantia, or in Hermanus, or in Cape Town itself. But I'd love to own two houses in Cape Town. I'm working towards that with my new with how much God has blessed me. I would love to have a house for rent and a house to stay in whenever I go to Cape Town, because Cape Town and me is a love affair that is going to last till death do me part. So that was my very, very funny journey, my second go around in Cape Town. I hope you enjoyed this video. Mention your experiences in Cape Town. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This has been Victor Weekly, Wealth, Wellness, and Word. I will see you next time.